MyCore is on a mission to be the world's most people-centric company. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the core of people. I'm your host, Nathan Bourne, and I invite you to join me as we deep dive into the personal and professional lives of our guests. We're going to learn who they are, why they exist, and what they do. We're going to hear their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In other words, we're going to talk to some really cool people. Welcome to the MyCore podcast. Hello. Welcome to the MyCore podcast. This is your host, Nathan Bourne. Conversation number 016 with the one and only Ryan Escalera. What's up, man?
What's up?
Good to see you, bro.
How you doing?
Excited to have you here. We're going to have an awesome conversation. And today we're going to talk about all the things, but I think we're going to talk a lot about your journey, your battle with addiction, alcoholism. So if this is something that you struggle with, you being the listeners, I think this is going to be a life-giving conversation. I think we all have our vices. We all have our struggles. And I just want to commend you right out the gate, man, for being here, for being vulnerable, for being transparent. It's a brave thing to put yourself, out there in a way that encourages others. And then also we've got business and leadership and CrossFit, of course. Can't let too much time go without mentioning that.
We got 25.2 coming tomorrow.
I know.
They're announcing at 2:30. 25.2. So I'm excited to see that.
My guess is that the
thrusters,
right? Like they've been prepping us this week for it, or they got to know, right?
They've got to know.
I would think like the mayhem.
Rich has to know.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would hope so. It's not like
that's why they put us through thrusters yesterday.
Right. It's going to suck. It's always thrusters. It's the worst. Yeah. So we're definitely going to talk about CrossFit. Obviously, it's part of the agreement we have within our membership. We have to mention
part of the cult, right?
We're going to talk about fatherhood. We're going to talk about single fatherhood.
Yeah.
Because that is a journey, and I know quite a bit about that as well. So let's dive in, man. So you have been sober from alcoholism for, you said
1 year, 7 months, and 5 days.
Wow, man.
Yeah, so that's what 19 months.
Good for you. Let's talk about that. So question, because sometimes I will jokingly say things like it's been this many years, this many days, this many hours. Is sobriety something that is almost daily like that? Like you almost do have to track it by the day? Or do months go by?
I think like for me, it was the first, I would say 90 to 120 days of really tracking it, like to see where I'm at. Now it's more, oh gosh, I've been sober for this long. This feels great. And I on Instagram, you follow like, the sobriety channels and, kind of see how long people have been. There's one page is called Sober Humor that I follow that, every once in a while they'll have someone on there that's like, oh, I've been sober for 575 days or, 20 years or whatever it is. So I think for me, it's just a good thing to see. Right. Like I have my app that I can pull up just like, before recording this, I was like, how long have I been sober? So,
man,
but those numbers are big. Like the big numbers, like a year and a half, pretty soon you look at 2 years, it's like, damn, I've been sober for 2 years. Like I'm looking forward to that. It's a big number to look forward to.
That's good, man. I mean, and I think we all have to look forward
to something,
right?
Right. It's all in. We were talking about this. I mean, we talk about this all the time when we see each other. And I feel like with growth, not just like growth in your job or growth with, like watching my kids grow, like you got your internal growth. Like, how am I becoming? Yeah, cool. I'm sober, but what am I doing with that sobriety and growing myself? And it's where like CrossFit for me, like in moving to Florida, hasn't even been a year yet. It'll be a year next month.
You've only been here a year.
Oh, April 17th, I flew in.
You've just been such a big part of the community there. I feel like it's been longer. That's awesome.
That's what everyone says. Yeah. And even Chris and Megan are like, thank you for being such a positive impact on the community. And even though I don't, like, I feel like I'm a pretty big personality,
Yeah,
you know,
sure,
like just like you, like you have a really big personality.
Me?
And,
Me? Got the wrong guy.
or like Jason, or
Jason's
there's
got
those
his beat.
he's on a whole nother world.
Off the rocker. I love
No,
him.
Jason's great.
He's the man.
But yeah, I feel like I've been there. Like this year has gone by so fast that it just seems like yesterday I just moved here, and I remember flying into the airport and thinking, gosh, I think that was probably not only like the first 90 days of sobriety, but coming into this place, April 17th, I fly in with my ex-wife and my 3 kids and her fiance.
Ex-wife at the time?
Still.
So when you flew in, right? Because I remember some of the story, but just to start fleshing it out a little bit, you had already split and decided to move here because she had is she still with the man?
Yeah, she's engaged, and that's why we moved here. Jeff, he's a great guy. Like, love Jeff to death. He's such a good father figure for my kids. We have 3 kids. So, but April 17th, that was like really a hard day in regards to like my journey, because I had made the decision. I flew out here May of 2023 to see if I even liked this area, because they started dating in 2022. Our divorce finalized in 2022. And that's when I started drinking heavily too. It was like when we even separated it back in 2020, right? And moved to Vegas at the time, and Vegas is a whole other. You have alcohol in every corner. But anyways, fast forward to 2023, I came out here and I checked it out, and I loved it. But at that time, I was still drinking. It wasn't until August 1st, 2023, that I got sober, and that's. I have the video.
So how long? So you just had a 40th birthday, right? Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Yep. And when did start drinking? Were you like a high school drinker, college drinker?
I drank a few times in high school, but it was really college. Okay. My first drink that I remember was actually my 21st birthday with my mom. My mom took me to a casino, and I had my drink there. But I dealt with it as a kid. Like, I remember, there's a handful of times I knocked out my dad because he was so wasted. And
so you grew up to alcoholism.
I grew up to it, yeah. And it's crazy because like my mom's dad was an alcoholic, and my mom doesn't drink. Like she was never a really big drinker. I don't remember her drinking as a kid, but it was always my dad. And he was never physically or any, and I love my dad to death, but when he, drank, it was verbal. It was like,
and you say knock out, like you hit him.
Yeah. Like, but
he wasn't physical to you. It wasn't defensive.
It was more like the one time I remember was I was trying to leave because I wanted to get away, and he like was standing in the door of my car, and I couldn't get out. I didn't want to deal with him fighting with me or him being drunk, and just it was a reaction. I didn't know how to manage things then really in high school. So
I was gonna say, how old were you? You were
in high school. Yeah.
I had a really intense experience with my father not that long ago. I don't even know that I'm ready to share it. but
and that's the thing, is like you're gonna share it when you feel comfortable. But
I know the feeling of being backed in a corner,
right?
And there's this sort of animalistic part that comes out. I think for me, I won't go into the full story in this moment for 2 reasons. I don't really want to. And 2, I want to stay focused on your journey.
Right.
But I'd be curious if you could relate to this part of it, of the experience, because I've started to process it, because this wasn't that long ago. This was 4 years ago. So this wasn't in high school. This was as a grown man coming home in the middle of my divorce, living with my parents, essentially. They were in like a weird season, so it was almost like they were separated, essentially. And we got into a physical altercation, which was unlike me, and I watched my other siblings and brothers specifically have an experience like that with my father. But the part that is weird is there's almost this element of like safety or protection because it's your father. Right. You're not getting in a fight with a stranger. Right. So it's a weird thing.
You feel like, safe in that. Yeah, like, even though it's like, it's wrong. Because I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and lie like that, I was this perfect person, or because there was one time during Thanksgiving, it was years, but I had kids at this time, and where it happened another time. That was the last time.
Okay.
That was the last time.
So that was similar to mine, like as an adult,
right,
grown ass man.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, it's like, I don't want it around my kids. I don't want weed around my kids. I don't want alcohol, because I know how it affected me.
Right.
And when I was a kid, when I was younger, dealing with it, 9-10 years old, being like, I have all these crazy memories now that I think about it, running and not being picked up until 10 o'clock at night when my mom's at work and my dad was supposed to already be home hours and hours and earlier, and him getting a hit and run, and like he called the cops on himself, and me watching my dad get arrested after his car was just totaled, like it's so there's all those memories I have as a kid that I'm like, I don't want this around my kids, get it out, like. And so addiction, it affects, it will, for me, I remember the day that I woke up from the last time I drank. My daughter, gosh, this is gonna be hard to share. I guess I don't remember any of this, but my daughter was like, Dad, you tried to go to the store to get more alcohol and had to take your keys, and then you started walking, I had to drag you. And I'm like yelling at my daughter. And at this time she's 12 now.
Oh my God, she's 12 now.
She's 12 now. So she was 10. And so she told me that story. Like, I heard this story a few days later. And then I guess I called the cops on my ex-wife for coming to get the kids. The reason why and I still have this video on my phone, Messenger Kids, my son, I have twin boys, and they're 9 now, they're gonna be 10. And Maddox, so this was almost 2 years ago, right? So they were 7, and he sends a video of Messenger Kids from his account, and I have it all on my phone, Messenger Kids and stuff, and he's like, Mom. And he's like crying a little bit, not really crying, but he's crying a little bit. You can see it. He's like, Mom, can you come get us? And I watched that video on August 1st because I didn't know where my kids were. Other than
because you're blacked out.
I was blacked out.
You have no,
like,
right? Yeah, you're just
I just woke up. My kids weren't there, and a bunch of messages, and that's really how I figured out like what was going on. And
you were alone with the kids, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it hadn't gotten to.
Well, the girl I was seeing then, she helped me a lot through my sobriety. Okay. Like, and she went to my AA meetings and stuff. Okay. But she ended up showing up, and like, she's the one that ended up calling my ex-wife, and it's like, hey, you need to come like get your kids. And so, I look back, I'm like, gosh, I could have lost my kids,
right?
And my kids are my world, It's so.
I was just thinking that as you said that, I was like, dude, that's like teetering on child
protective
service. I mean, if you had a vindictive ex, you probably would have.
I would have lost him. And she's amazing. My ex, and I think this has been like kind of like my problem, like in the dating world, like we have such a good relationship now. And she's always wanted me to be a part of, the kids' life, and never was going to be this vindictive ex-wife is like, I'm going to take you for this.
Right.
I mean, I didn't have it about anything anyway. Not much to take.
What do you want?
But at the end of the day, it's like she always wanted the best for the kids, and that's having a complete family. So August 1st, 2023 is when I woke up and things changed, and it's time to get sober.
And you're in Vegas at this point.
I was living in Vegas at this point.
Damn, man. That's
so
a rude awakening.
Huh? Rude awakening. And to get sober from anything is hard. Right. But to do it in like Sin City, not drink, not like, it was like even then it was like doing other drugs or whatever, like you can get it anytime you want. And so
there's
but energy. Alcohol was my thing. Like, and it wasn't even like, oh, I need to get wasted. It was, I love the taste of it, but once I drank it, it was like, this is like drinking a Coke. Like people like the sweetness of a Coke or whatever. It was, I love my IPA, and then I love the the dry wines, and I just
so it wasn't even hard liquors. You would just drink like beer and wine,
and
just
go at it. And every once in a while I would get like my maker's mark. Like I don't even know what kind of was that.
Bourbon,
yeah. I don't even know.
It's
like
got a cool bottle.
I just it's got a sweet bottle.
Like
I know how they dip it now, but yeah, I every once in a while I have that and just down that in a couple days, you know.
Okay, so timeline. 21st birthday, you have your first drink
that I can remember. Yeah, I mean there was probably times, but my first time that I remember drinking back then.
Did you drink consistently till that point?
No.
So when did you start heavy drinking?
That was when we moved to Vegas. Heavy drinking,
which would have been
that was 2020. Age? That was November 2020. I moved to Vegas because we separated in like October 2020.
So you had like a pretty good handle on alcoholism. It was or alcohol. It was
more social, or like there were times I was actually just talking about this time. I would. My ex-wife would definitely remember this better than I do because she dealt with it, right? And this was not the only thing of our divorce, obviously, but a lot of it was the alcohol. And
was she a drinker? Times,
no, not really. But if she does, when she does, she can have 10 shots of tequila and you'll never know she's drunk. Yeah, you know,
she can hold her liquor, right? Yeah.
Right, holds it very well. But with me, it's very easily I get.
Because I think there's a bit of a like warning in this. I think there's a lot of people that are right there towing the line around this and other vices, but they've got a good handle on it, a good control. It's not currently ruining their life, but there's layers and levels to this,
levels
right?
Of it, yeah.
And it sounds like you maintained for 15 years, from 21 to 36 or 20, to your mid 30s. And then something happened that you went deeper and darker into it.
Yeah. For me, when I was alone, because then our schedule changed a lot with the kids and we went to week on, week off and all that. But when I was alone, those first few days were really hard because it's like you're with your kids, chaos. I'm a single father of 3 kids and like it's always chaotic with 3 kids.
Right. You're just keeping up. Yep.
And but when they leave with their mom, it's like, okay, I'm sitting on the couch twiddling my thumbs, like what am I gonna do? Drink. Work from home, I'm gonna drink. That's what I did. And I shouldn't even laugh about this, but I do now because there was multiple times where I'd have like be sitting on the couch like this with my beer like this, right? And I'm just like pass out.
I'm going to have you speak closer to that mic because I don't want to miss this.
No, you're good. So I'm just like have my beer.
Pass out.
I'm literally watching like a cool show on Netflix.
I hate to laugh.
But have my beer because I like a cold glass, right? Important glass. I just like, I literally put my head back and I just pass the fuck out. And wake up with beer all over me. There was one, bro. There was one. I hate to laugh about this because it's no laughing matter like dealing with alcoholism, but there was a time where it was the wine. I have my wine glass and everything. Pass the fuck out. Wine all over me. Red wine too, because I don't like white wine.
Yeah, you look like you got shot.
You're right. And there's
you wake up, you're like, did someone stab me?
It's like, what the fuck happened? And I look back at these memories. I'm thinking, what was I thinking? Like, why was I so miserable? And because subconsciously, I mean, there were things that happened to me when I was younger, 22, 23 years old, that I'm not going to get into huge detail, but like as a man, you never want to have happen to you, and subconsciously I think about that stuff, thought about it, and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I think that was always an issue that I never really dealt with, wasn't just my dad, but it was like everything else leading up to that. And then that happened, and then divorce. And I never managed anything that ever happened with me until I decided to stop drinking, you know, and then
Isn't
now
that
I'm just like able to manage it a lot better. And obviously we have memories of shit that happened. But like at this point, I'm like, I have this hat and my buddy Dan gave it to me. It says IDGAF. And I always say, and it's like always kind of have that attitude, like, I don't give a fuck anymore, you know, like, you know, if I'm in a relationship and, you know, anything happens, like, cool, like, I love you. But, or whatever it is, like, if something happens to me, like, things are going to happen, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm always going to be good now.
So yeah, that's interesting because there's like I think there's a nuance there, right? In that you could look at that statement, that attitude, I don't give a fuck. And that could be like a genuine, like autopiloting, sleeping through life, falling asleep at the wheel.
Right.
But you're talking
obviously
about,
there's like, yeah, there's things that you should give a fuck about. Right. Like,
but it gives you this sort of edge to say it's almost like a cooler way to say don't sweat the small stuff.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Man, I have questions. Yeah, because I come from a similar world as you, and I'm the fourth of 9 children, 6 boys, 3 girls. So there's 9 human beings ranging from age 22, my youngest brother, to 43. So there's 21 years.
Crazy,
isn't that crazy?
Bro.
And now there's 20.
And they're all
biological. No twins. Wow. My parents were married at 18 and 19. Wow. There are now 22 grandchildren, and my mom just turned 62, and my dad just turned 63 in February. So particularly, like all of us, because it was just sort of kind of the culture of our family, but particularly the older siblings, we grew up with our parents. I mean, I looked at my birth certificate recently. I don't know if they still do this, but it had the age of my parents, and it said father's name. It said age 25 or 26, and mom 25.
Yeah,
like, man, they had their 4th child at 25 and 26 years old.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was 27 when we had our first.
Yep. I have a 17-year-old stepson, so I was 18 when he was born, but I didn't know his mother at the time. Right. And then my daughter will be 12. I'm 36, so I was 24 when she was born, 23 when we got married, and Jen got pregnant. Wow. So I became a father early as well. You were 27?
Right. 27, yeah.
You have how many siblings?
Just one.
Brother or sister?
Brother. Yeah.
Does he battle with addiction?
He does, yeah. He his addiction, and I don't know, I think he might be bipolar. Okay. And he's just someone that just doesn't want to get checked. It was hard. It wasn't alcohol. It was more, the weed is what happened when he was in high school, right? And they say that's a gateway drug. Like, I don't like smoke or anything like that.
Right.
I mean, I have. I was but it was like the hard drugs, like meth, and
he did meth,
cocaine, and
heroin, or
heroin. I don't know the difference. Like,
either do I. Yeah. I just know that's like there's categories to this stuff.
Right.
So the hardcore shit. He's
hardcore
to this day, or did?
I'm not sure. I'll be honest. I don't talk to him anymore. Love him, but I don't ever want to give up on him because he's my brother, you know. But
younger, older,
and he, but he's also not my brother. He's not, and him and I don't know at what point in our childhood we just fought all the time. Maybe it was in high school. I don't know. But at some point we just never got along, and it's sad because I see like you and your family, like, well, you've talked about your siblings, and it sounds like you have a pretty good relationship, right? Like, I wish I had that. I look at the Tate brothers, like, obviously they probably fight at some point, right? But
fighting the world together,
like I wish I had that. I really do wish I had that. But at the end of the day, like, your brother is not necessarily your blood, right? Like,
I
your
sent you that. Did you see that thing I sent you? For Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, my brother Noah, who's the man who is an addict and has battled with addiction. He's also hilarious in his own way, like not in like a obnoxious way like I am, but in like a actually funny. Like he's mad funny. And I sent him that to him, and he said, "Yeah, for real." And he said, "I feel that." He said, "I don't even care about myself, just my bros." I said, "I know that feeling," and I know his personality, so like it was kind of like, yeah, he's real chill.
Yeah, he's real chill.
Yeah, like I don't even care about my shit. Like,
just my bros. I just want to see everyone else kill it.
Yeah, but you know, I think there's a few ways that this goes, right? So like, you have an addict for a father. Mm-hmm. Sounds like there was some
definitely addiction in the family.
Addiction, abuse,
verbal,
yeah. I'll tell you, I struggle with that word because
abuse.
Yeah. Like, I think probably objectively that you could call it that, but I'm not like. I'd be curious your take on this. So, you know, we have to wake up every day, and I have to Nathan, and you have to Ryan, right?
Right.
And I've gotten to a place in my life where I kind of like who I am. You know, I like me. I like what I got going on.
Yep.
Pretty comfortable with myself. Pretty confident. And anytime I do go back into those memories, I go back into that trauma. Mm-hmm. And I can't quite tell if this is a coping mechanism, if this is healthy, if this is unhealthy, if this is avoidance, if this is, you know, suppressing it, burying it, denying it, somewhere in between all that, you know. But where I kind of always land is I go, you know, this is what has made me who I am. You know, I can't be me the way that I am me without these things. And sometimes I think I even joke at CrossFit because I can move a decent amount of weight. You know,
you can.
Thank you. And I sometimes people will kind of see me go into these spaces, you know, just sort of mentally or physically. And it's like, dude, how can you lift that? Or how did you do that? I'm like, childhood trauma, man.
Childhood trauma, just push right through
and I want you to do that. Like you move weight and you do workouts in a way that I think you work out in a way that is not quite like everyone. I think there's a bit of a like fight for your life.
Well, it's a competitive thing, and you're right. Like when I'm working out, you know, I obviously do it, and it's like taking one addiction to another, right? Like, am I addicted to CrossFit now? You know, like I would rather be addicted to something healthy, but obviously a healthy addiction, right? When it's because I've actually heard people quitting CrossFit or like anything, like or the gym because they were so addicted to it. You know, so is that like
we need to start like a CrossFit Anonymous?
Right. But
when I think I may have this, right? So my wife would tell you that I'm a workaholic,
right?
And I probably like if I was, you know, put on the stand and the evidence was gathered and a jury had to vote, I'd probably
he's guilty.
So, but that's been sort of my drug of choice,
right?
My whole life, and we're always, you know, it was school, sports, business now, but it just work. But you know, I wonder. You know, neither of us are psychiatrists or psychologists, but I do wonder: is that all been an exercise in avoiding my shit, you know? And probably,
it could be.
If you're going to do something,
right?
Because you got to do something, and you might as well do it like hardcore, you know, be obsessed or be average kind of thing. Those choices that I've made, it has been a lot easier for me to process the trauma, course correct. Because I have some other, I got a whole slew of issues, but
we all
right. We're all trying to figure it out. But one of the like glaring ones would be anger. Like I struggle with anger.
Okay.
For sure. And I can go from being like hunky dory Nathan to like snap, and it scares the shit out of me. Like I have
like what am I doing?
Yeah, dude. Like I just almost similar when you're telling that story about being blacked out.
Right.
Like I have had full-blown blackout
from anger.
Oh yeah.
Really?
I mean, it might not be all night because it doesn't take you hours to sober up.
Right.
But I have done things in anger where I mean, 10 minutes later, I'm like,
what the hell did I do? I would have never done it. Why did I do that?
I mean, at one time I threw a pan at the wall, like full blown, like I'm cooking, which is a rare sight anyway, right. A rarity. And Jen and I are fighting. And I mean, this is awful. Just whatever, tell all. I didn't throw it at her, for the record, but I fucking launched it into the wall.
Right.
And the part that's probably most messed up, man, is that I was like, that wasn't that bad. But for somebody that doesn't come from that,
right.
It's like, what the F just happened? You know what I mean? Like terrifying to her, to me, like, I'll fix it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
it's nothing to you. It's not a big deal to you.
You know what the most messed up, this was years ago.
Yeah.
You know what the most fucked up part is? I never fixed the wall. She did.
Really?
I was so prideful about it. This was years ago. This was like a decade ago. I was so prideful about it that she ended up plastering the wall and all that led to a divorce, right? I mean,
so that was part.
That was like, pre round one, right? Yeah, So I say this to say that, like, we're all trying to figure it out, and I think we're all failing. The question is, are we failing forward? Are we failing? Are we progressing and getting better and learning from it? And I don't know that these things ever go away as much as you just learn to manage them better. Like, you're never not going to have a taste for alcohol. It's never going to go away.
Yeah. I mean, but you don't want to suppress it so much to where it's always going to be an issue.
Right.
And it's always coming up. And that's the cause of, like, your problem, right?
Because it's always
going to be there. Yeah. It will re-enter even stronger. Like, but you have to be able to manage the situation, the thoughts, whatever it is, your triggers, right? Like, for example, like I said, my trigger, like, for me to drink would be the very first day that my kids go to their mom. It's like, well, shit, is when because, like, again, a week of chaos,
right?
And then nothing, and it's like really quiet in the house. Like, especially now I'm in this place where I know. Well, now I have my CrossFit friends, right? But I virtually don't. I mean, I don't know anyone, right?
You're new to this area. You touch down on, sort of unsight unseen, or whatever, sight unseen,
kind of. And then I'm alone again. It's like I could go drink.
So is it loneliness that causes it, or is it wanting to escape from the chaos? What do you think the feeling is, that the trigger, that, because you mentioned that first day, is it like, man, that was chaotic, I need to drink? Or was it like, I'm alone, I need to drink?
I don't know. It's like, is it the chicken or the egg that came first?
Shit. I don't
know. It'd
be weird if you did know. If you knew, you probably wouldn't have the problem.
Yeah, I probably would have the issue, right?
So forget that question.
That's actually good, because, like, I would drink with the kids, and then when I was alone, I would drink with the kids, without the kids. So
either way, we're drinking. Yeah. Like, in your mind, because I think, I don't know, maybe as I'm talking, I'm like, shit, maybe I'm an addict. Like, we're having like a mutual conversation.
Right.
But, like, I think for me, there's a absolute level of avoidance. Like, there's some, because I'll put it this way. This is just, I don't like talking this way. This is me being real, being vulnerable. I struggle significantly with parenthood, with fatherhood.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the best modeling of that.
Right.
We all sort of survived together. So our bond is more like a trauma bond from surviving together as a family.
Right.
So when people ask me, like, are you close with your family? I'm like, yeah, we were physically very close in small homes and small spaces and shitty houses, growing up poor together, trying to figure it out. Like, when you were telling the story about your father, I have a lot of stories like that where, I'm coming home from a wrestling tournament that I just won, what I mean? And I'm like, not sure how I'm getting home, because whatever, the car's broken down, or it's chaotic, or who knows, So, and it's hard because my mom is a part of my life and part of my company, my core.
Oh, I didn't know.
Like,
that.
I'm rolling the dice on whether she's ever going to hear this or not.
Right.
So I have to have these conversations where it's, like, very difficult and very delicate,
Right.
Because I'm trying to still honor her, my love and respect for my parents,
right,
but also keep it real about some real ass shit.
right,
So I have a sibling that she's the only one, and this is newer, so we're still navigating it. She's essentially disowned our family over the past few years, and that's very sad for all of us. It's also very sad for her,
right?
You know, because my whole thing is like family's family, you know, in the sense of if you can, I mean, if boundaries that like are there's some things that you just can't come back from, obviously, right?
Right.
But if it's more like just it was hard, it was rough, it was brutal, it was, you know, there was a lot of mistakes, whatever. I think you still plow through that one, but
yeah,
it makes me sad for you that your brother and you do not have that relationship. It sounds like you've found other ways to have a brotherhood.
right.
Have you? Do you have other people that you can call?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I think I hope one day my brother comes around, but I think it's just so broken that I won't have that, you know. With
and
him.
there's life. There's also just like life you deal with. So when do you
I would say too the text message because with the Pete and I, it was like, hey, this idea, like I think I see all of you, like it was that group of 7 as like a brother, like you guys are all my brothers, you know. And I have a best friend, Nate, that he came to family Thanksgiving this last year, and he's never met any like my California family, and he's like, yeah, I was like, yeah, but he's one of those brothers that one of your best friends that you don't talk for 6 months, and it'll be picked up right where it left off.
You'll have to come. So the church I go to, I just had our pastor Tyler on the podcast. We did an episode, and we're part of a growth group. It kind of happens in like these seasons, so like semesters, but they call it the brotherhood, which is cool. So
really?
it's
That's
all
cool.
men, and there's like, I mean, there's probably about 40 or 50 men that get together. Ned, who I was mentioning to you, he came out, and then I've met a lot of great guys through that, and they do this. You would definitely like this. They'll do like a competition at the beginning of it. And you know what? They just announced, I'll get you the information. They just announced like a whole event they're doing called the Brotherhood, which is
really,
like,
that's cool.
I don't know. It's like on a Saturday for like 8 hours or something. There's going to be like food and competitions and stuff. It almost sounds like it's like the real world. Or,
that's
so
good. Yeah, you remember that? The real world. Yeah. The crazy thing too about like, speaking of like the real world, is like you look back and alcohol is normalized. Like, and like, yeah, go drink, go do this, go that.
Right.
But they don't share like the bad stuff that comes with it. I would rather, like, I look at my dad, I would rather him smoke weed than drink alcohol.
Right. Alcohol seems to be brutal because of how accepted it is, because of how, if you're like, you do crack, right? You're like, it's pretty obvious that like, yeah, no, we're not going to be doing crack tonight. Like they're not serving it like the football game.
It's not hey, like crack on the
like happy hour. We got like 2-for-1 crack. Like it's so culturally accepted that I would hate to have that affliction.
Right.
Because everywhere you go, hey man, let's get together, we'll grab a drink, we'll talk business, and you're like, I'm not going to be doing that, and then you almost have to. I'm sure there's some kind of conversation even there that you end up, which is good, probably. I'm sure it's healthy to have those conversations, but you have to keep disclosing this pretty much on repeat, right? All the time. You're like, I'm actually sober, or I'm not drinking. Do you always? I feel like it's probably gotten way better. Like I would imagine, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, it's probably harder. Now there's just more awareness around this, but
there's so much more awareness.
It's probably,
you hear about like the whole sober dating thing now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like a whole, I don't know what gen it is or whatever.
Like, right. Whatever like generation.
20s, like early 20s. Like that's like the thing is like sober dating.
Cool.
No, and you'll see like a lot of like the non-alcoholic drinks now, like Athletic Brewing. Which I I thought like, okay, it barely has alcohol in it. Like I can drink, but I tried one. It was nothing, right? Like the Athletic Brewing IPA, like it tastes exactly like an IPA. And I look at that, I'm just like, gosh, I wish they had this because I like the taste of it.
Right.
I don't necessarily like the portion of being drunk and hungover, you know?
And there's a social, so this is interesting too, because I didn't drink at all through high school. I didn't have my first drink until my sophomore year of college. I pledged a fraternity, which was really like all the wrestlers, ATO, dry. So I was like straight edge, dude. Like, and it kind of perplexed a lot of the guys because I had plenty of personality still and kind of life a party, and I didn't have an issue with like getting along with girls or talking to girls or whatever. I didn't like, I wasn't a man whore or anything, just like socially, you know, just like talking to females, whatever.
Right.
So it kind of like irked them that I didn't need alcohol
to do that,
you know? And at that time, you know, this wasn't that long ago, or maybe it was, I guess it would have been like, I graduated high school in 2006. So like those years of college, like from 06 to 2010, it was pretty radical that I did not drink. And they also knew that I was a Christian. So it kind of got associated a little bit with my faith and morals. But then I did drink. This is another thing that's funny, but not funny. My college roommate is like, all right, man, you're like life of the party, personality. Like, why don't you drink with us like one night? And I'm like, all right, yeah, like let's do it. You know, like
peer pressure.
Let's do it. Like, yeah, good old peer pressure. I made my point. I had proven my point that like I don't drink. Dude, they fed me 13 shots of vodka in an hour. Gosh. I hold the record across all ATO fraternities for the longest hangover. This was a Saturday night. I went to the hospital on a Monday, bro.
You went to the hospital?
On Monday.
2 days later.
Alcohol poisoning, dehydration, dry heaving. They almost killed me, man. I had gone from never drinking to 13 shots of blueberry vodka. Oh my God. I could never even look at that vodka. It's like Schlitz, yeah, whatever that I can see the
gold flakes.
That I know
Goldschlager.
Goldschlager, yeah. Whatever the brand is, I've seen it in like liquor stores, and I'm like, get it away. I'm ruined for it. But I've never been a drinker. You know, to this day, I will drink. Like I'll have a beer, and I have been drunk. I think maybe I've blacked out once or twice, but I bet you that in my entire 36 years, I've been drunk definitely less than 36 times.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
Sure. Yep. It's never been.
Yeah, I'm 40. I've definitely been drunk way more than 40 times.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. That's
You're
really
like
good.
maybe do yours by like months.
Yeah.
You know? Like I've been alive for 40 times 12.
Yeah.
365. Yeah, I just never had a taste for it, but I think it was a bit of a overcorrection of sorts from what I had seen in some of my siblings, seen from my father. And I think I chose work, drive, you know, motivation as my drug of choice, if you will, to avoid a lot of shit that I didn't really want to deal with. That absolutely caught up to me, as it always will. And then I've since found ways to process it and compartmentalize it. But I'm kind of saying all this to say that I have found in my therapy, so maybe this is similar to your sobriety because they're kind of, you know, connected. And it's sort of like the exciting and depressing part of healing, maybe. Is that you open the drawer, you look at all the shit. It's like the junk drawer that we all have in our home with keys and batteries and scissors. And then you're like, all right, I need to start sorting this stuff out. Right.
Really?
And go like, why am I this way? How did it happen? And then I think for me, at least, this is probably proof that it was bad. I will have these moments where I'm almost like gaslighting myself, where I'm like, did that really happen, dude?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, am I chalking that up? Am I dramatizing that to making it more? Am I belittling that?
Right.
And it's hard sometimes to like Goldilocks it and get it just right, where you're like, yeah, no, that was fucked up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it wasn't your fault. Yeah. I really struggle with that. Like, because back to the original thought, I like who I am. Right. I like who I am in the gym. I like who I am in business. I like who I am. I mean, I don't like everything about it, obviously, but I have a relatively good relationship with myself. And I'm trying to find a way in my maturing and my growth and my development to spend more time with that shit. Right. Because I typically can sort it pretty quickly and then I shut the drawer. Right. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, I get it. That happened. That calls that. That's the bad stuff that happened from it. This is some of the good stuff. Yeah. I've chosen to focus on the good stuff. Can't do anything about the bad stuff. Can we move on now? I got shit to do.
You got shit to do. Well, and that's like...
That's hard for me.
And I have found with me talking, because people are like, oh, they don't want to talk about their sobriety or stuff. I found that when I talk about it, it's not me trying to push it on people though either. It makes me feel better. It makes me feel better in regards to like,
it's part of your
it's
process.
Part of like who I am, right? At the events, for example, the CrossFit events, people are like, oh yeah, have a drink. I actually don't drink. Yeah. Oh, why not? I've been sober for, I was a fucking raging alcoholic, like,
so, do you want me to drink? Because I could, and then punch you right in the face.
Yeah. And I goes there, like, I'm the type of person that I get drunk, I want to fight everyone.
Really?
Okay, no one likes
angry drunk.
I'm an angry fucking drunk. And so
is it like does it flip or you go straight to anger? Do you go from you go straight to
maybe I'm like happy a little bit
for like a few minutes.
Yeah, and then I go like I just want to fight everyone.
Sorry to laugh.
No, laugh all you want. Bro, I like, and so I think it's good for me to let that out. Like,
see, I'm the opposite. I'm angry normally. I live, I have there's this scene, you could probably relate to it if you struggle with this as well, but it's the Avengers scene with the Hulk where there's like this dragon alien coming and they're all like, we need you to get angry, because he's just like,
he just won't.
Well, he's the Roger Bannister. He's just Mark Ruffalo, the actor.
The actor, yeah.
And he turns and he goes, that's the thing. I'm always angry. Oh. And then he like blows up and punches it. And I was like, that's me. I was like, I don't get angry.
Yeah, you're always angry. Yeah. Oh my God.
So I actually am the opposite. When I do drink, I am like the nicest, hunky-doryest, like, how you doing? Because but you flip, because you're I mean, I see you only sober. I don't know.
Right. Like I feel like
I can't imagine you being a dick. Actually, that would be weird.
Like, I could be a dick probably, but
I don't need alcohol to be a dick.
I don't need alcohol, but I think for me, but yeah, that's how I am. I'm very personable. Like, I always say this. So like, if I walk into a room of 100 people, I'm gonna know all 100 people. Like,
that's how you and I connected. I mean, I was thinking it was longer ago, but you were new to the gym about a year ago. Yeah. You were inquisitive and conversational, and hey, nice to meet you. Where you're from? I was like, yeah, let's get together, man. So I'm like more like that too. So when someone else is like that to me, I'm like, oh, this is nice. I don't have to do the work. Like, I just answer the questions. You know, they would have to ask them.
And I find one thing I find really fun at the gym too, and like with my personality, like I feel like I have a big personality, and like like I said, I'll talk to anyone. Is when new people come in and they're like, I was like, hey, how you doing? Just like very welcoming. Like, I just love that. Yeah. I just love people though. Right.
You're a people person.
We went to Bingo Loco the other night. Hal's drinking and stuff, and it was just right here at Deckett, right next door.
I love Hal.
He's great. He's like, it was like, no, I don't know if you knew I don't drink. I don't remember, but like, and everyone's drinking around and we're just having fun playing bingo. Like, he's just listening to some good music, and but it feels good. Like, it feels so good to be able to say, I don't need to drink to have fun. I don't need to drink to be happy. I don't need to drink to relax. I'll just, have my bedtime tea and just pass out. We were like, just relax.
So have you? Is addiction something you're born with? Is this something that you develop? Okay, and not in like a complacent, because you're not the type of person that is like, oh, this happened to me. Not a victim mindset.
No,
I know you're not saying that, but this is something that you're gonna deal with forever. Like it never goes away.
It won't ever go away. I actually had this thought yesterday. I'm like, I don't know, remember who it was, but the thought was, wonder if I can have one drink one day, like 5 years from now. Can I have one drink? Like,
what a dangerous thought.
I think it was like their dad or something used to be an alcoholic, and he drinks every once in a while. Now I think that's what brought it up. I was like, that thought was like, can I ever have one more drink? Like just one drink to taste, like just to feel a buzz. I can guarantee you, fucking all go sideways.
It'll just all go sideways.
It'll just all
and everything you will have built up to that point.
Yeah.
For why?
For what? For one drink, one hangover.
Plus, you have to stay the course because those checkpoints that you mentioned earlier matter, right? You can't be like, I've been sober for 3 years. In the back of your head, you're like, well, really, there was that 1 week.
There was that one,
Like you need to know that, like, I'm killing it, like, and not on your own strength, because you've probably gathered by now that that's not possible. Like for me, I need first and foremost is my relationship with God. Like I don't understand when people don't have a relationship with God. I'm evangelical, but not in like a, you're going to hell. I'm in like a, how the fuck do you do that without a relationship? Like for me, I am a wreck without my relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of a wreck with my relationship with God.
Right.
And then secondly is my community, right? Like I even like our shield, I talk about this with the cross, that it's like a vertical and a horizontal sort of awareness, right? That like we stand on our own 2 feet, we look up and we go like, all right, like help me. We fill up our cup, and it's not just higher power stuff. It's like our parents put things into us that are good, bad, ugly.
Right.
How do we recognize the ugly, manage the bad, and try our best to pass on the good downstream? Like my children have this part of them, some more than others, that I'm like, dude, it's in them. Like I can see the anger, the intensity. And also it's really awesome when it's channeled, because I became a Division I wrestler because I chose to take all that anger and put it into a wrestling mat versus a back alley or at a bar.
Right.
But it's the same.
That's how my buddy was too, like wrestler, like, but all of his anger goes into like, now he's a UFC fighter.
Oh, there
that
you go.
Like all of his anger is in the octagon, but that's crazy.
And then you have the people around you, right? You have moments like this that I think matter. Your community, your sort of horizontal relationships. But I think it's a balance between those things that kind of keeps me leveled, and I've got my own issues, but I haven't struggled with alcohol though. That's something that is always kind of
and I showed you, and I'll show it right now. But like my memories always come back, like because I shared them. Right, that's how like my TikTok blew up. It was like me crying on my TikTok and being very vulnerable, and I literally was blacked the fuck out.
You don't even remember it.
I don't remember. Like I wake up with.
Can you play that video? I mean, I'll probably have Kenya splice it in so you can send it to me.
Yeah,
but like, I don't know, point it towards the camera or something. I want people to see this. And there's this other really dark.
This is the other one was a lot earlier than this.
Okay.
So hold on, let me go back to it real quick. So here's the sound to it.
Send this song to somebody that you will not give up on.
Right. And then it literally got shared to so many people, but
yeah.
Just me struggling.
Right. So you're in this moment, you're drunk.
I'm drunk. I'm fat. I'm like a mess, bro. Like,
and you think in your drunk mind, I'm going to go on camera now and post this?
I guess. Yeah.
Which is awesome. In and of itself.
I'd be like praying to myself, like,
oh my gosh. I'm going to have her splice this in so they can see it.
But like, and so like that tattoo, right? My lion tattoo is supposed to be me. Like I'm strong. I'm whatever, right? And I think this was after because I used to go live on TikTok, and I would pretend like I was sober, and like so if the camera's on you, right? And I would be like, oh yeah, I don't drink anymore, but trying to like be this like influencer, bro. I was faking it. You know how they always say fake it till you make it, bro. I was like, my beer is over here on the side out of the like camera view. I'm like, oh, like drink. No way. And there were a few times where they're like, you know, because it was like a group of people. We would always talk like, oh, you're drinking again. I'm like, no, I'm not. You know,
they knew.
You know what it reminds me of is my dad. He would always hide it. And I always knew. I will know now. Yeah. I will forever know when my dad drinks, you know? And so it's like these people see it as me, and I always told myself I never wanted to be like my dad because I grew up with it and I turned into my dad, you know?
Wow, man. I've heard this thing, right, where it's your day of disgust, which can also be your day of decision. And oftentimes it's not one day. Like you may be able to point to the day and know the date and somehow timestamp it, but it's typically a season. So you even had a day of disgust before the real day. So was the day with your kids, was that the day that you truly stopped? Like, when did you actually?
Did I stop drinking?
17 months ago, 5 days. But
I'll let you listen to the sound. Okay. It was the day that Maddox. The day that Maddox sent his mom a video, August 1st, 2023. He said, "Mom, come." He's crying. He said, "That's Mom, come messenger. Get us." It was on Kids Messenger.
Oh my god!
Here it is.
You have the video?
I have it right here. I'll show you.
Yeah, man.
Oh wait. Oh, maybe it was to Sarah.
I mean, I'll tell you, as you were telling that
here
story
it is.
Earlier,
3 seconds, right? Mom, can you pick us up?
Oh my god, dude, I can't. Wow.
Young. He's 7 years old then.
That's awful, bro.
Right?
Mom, can you pick us up?
Fuck.
I mean, you can hear my daughter in the background fucking pray, bro. Like, she's praying, "Mom, come pick us up. Mom, come pick us up."
From her own father, yeah.
Mom, can you pick us up?
Mom, she's like, whatever. You know, Sarah says, "Hi, honey, what's up?" Because they tried calling multiple times, you know, and then they talked, and I don't know,
man,
like
that's intense.
And so that day, like, you know, me waking up, seeing that, where are my fucking kids? Like, you know, I didn't know. I called the cops on my ex-wife to say my ex-wife took my kids on my day. But all reality, like, I'm fucked up. I didn't know the cops literally that night. I talked to one of the cops, and they called me on my phone, and they're like, after they came to the house and I reported whatever, like, I don't remember any of this, but I talked to the cop the next day. He's like, "Do you remember us asking you about your gun?" I was like, "Cause I told you, I told you this before we started recording. February 2021, I almost committed suicide." And, you know, and the cop asked me when they came. It was 2023, like the next day or that night that I was all fucked up reporting her. They called me. I reported her for taking my kids,
children that you were blacked out.
Yeah. Wow. And they're like, "Hey, do you have any firearms?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fucking, I have a 40. Like, what do you want to know about it?" You know, like, just being an asshole to these cops. And they're like, "Are you gonna hurt yourself?" I was like, "If I was gonna fucking hurt myself, I would have fucking done it already." You know, like, just being an asshole, you know, to these public servants that are, you know, really working out to make sure everyone's safe. Right?
And you're the one that initiated the call.
And I'm the one that initiated the call.
You're being a jerk because you think you're essentially being a victim.
Right.
You're acting like this happened to me, unbeknownst to you, that you caused it.
Yeah.
That's tough, man.
I don't know if I said this yet, but like that night, me my daughter took my keys. Like I tried to drive, she took my keys because I was gonna, in Vegas, every fucking corner there's a liquor store, right? Or a convenience store to grab whatever you want. But it was that video that I will never, like, I'll forever have it, that Maddox just crying and my daughter in the background, praying for their mom to come get him. Like I can imagine. I moved to Florida because I can't imagine being a long distance dad.
Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah.
And you shared a little of this earlier, whatever you feel comfortable with, but I know that there are people that have been that low in life. You said you had a gun to your actual head, an actual gun to your head.
Yeah, I had my 40. The kids had just went with their mom. I don't remember if it was like on my birthday or like a few days after my birthday or after my birthday, like feeling really lonely, right? I had 2 bottles of wine. I had like 6 IPAs. My IPA of choice was Sierra Nevada Hazy IPA, like the green one, like so good. And I had a couple bottles of wine. I was fucked up. And I was sitting on the edge of my bed just like this, right? And I grabbed my gun and I had it to my head. And then I had this image of my kids. I don't even think my ex-wife knows about this. But I had it, I had this image of my kids and pulled the gun away from my head. And I told you before this, like, I don't know if it was the angle or like I was so drunk I twitched or like, because you have to pull those triggers pretty hard, right? Yeah. And that trigger, literally, the gun goes off right in front of my face, bullet in front of my face, my ears ringing, up into the ceiling. And I could probably look back and that hole is probably still in the ceiling. Maybe they got the bullet out, or maybe it went through. I don't know.
This was a house?
Yeah, this was a house. This was a house I was renting right when I moved to Vegas.
Oh my God.
So
the gun
went off right in front of my face. Yeah. So, and I look back, I'm like, gosh, I could not be here. But even then, I didn't stop drinking.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's not even the day of disgust yet.
It wasn't
disgusting days that you've been having.
It was because we separated in 2020, like September, October 2020. I moved to Vegas in November. Her and the rest of the crew, we had like 6 different families all moved to Vegas, all moved in December. So it was 3 months after I moved that happened. Like I was drinking every day, going to the bar, and
it's almost like a bender, but like a 4-year bender. Yeah, I mean, that you were just deep in the darkness.
That's when I got really bad, is after we separated. Yeah. Right.
Because you're probably feeling like a failure. You're dealing with heartbreak. You're dealing with shame. Yeah. And you're just literally drowning your sorrows.
But yeah, I mean, but what was it before? Like when I was drinking, I wasn't drinking every day when I was married, but I would drink, and
it was habitual.
Bro, like there was one night that like I was up, I had some vodka. I was playing. Vodka really makes me angry, but maybe it's not the alcohol. Maybe it's just like, and then after that, I probably had like 4 vodka crayons, maybe more. I don't remember. And then I had some wine, and literally go to bed. This is when we were living in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and man, it's so sad. I have all these fucking stories, bro. Like now that I'm like saying it out loud, but this is good.
That's good. Yeah.
I literally throw up as she's sleeping. Kids are in bed. This is like 2:00 in the morning, probably 1:00 in the morning. I'm playing Call of Duty like with my friends, like thinking, oh, this is awesome, whatever. Fucking throw up all over the side of the bed, red everywhere. Kind of like the story, like me sitting in the couch and like spilling my wine, but I'm throwing up red shit everywhere, like, and her waking up like, what the fuck, like, oh.
I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when you tell those stories, the Ryan that I know
is not
like,
that.
Yeah, I'm like, who is this person you're talking about?
Right.
Because I mean, I'm trying to imagine it.
Right.
Even that video. I mean, you've also not just had this change in your heart and in your mind and in your choices, but there's been physical manifestation. Since I've met you. You look great, but you've lost how much weight?
I've probably 25 pounds, somewhere around there.
Gotten fit, gotten your mind right.
Yeah, mind right.
And your
body fat percentage way down. Like, I think I'm like,
how do you feel?
Fucking amazing.
Yes.
You and I work out with our shirts off.
Yeah. Totally.
If you look at me in that video, like if they splice it or whatever, there is never in a million years I'd be working out with my shirt off.
I struggle even to this day.
I love it. I feel fucking great. Yeah. And you'll hear like Jason, Ryan with his shirt off.
Right.
Bro, you don't get it. Like, I was a piece of shit. Like, right. I had no confidence in myself. I'm super confident. Like, not even that like I'm overly confident, but it feels good. You know, I think that a lot with addiction too is people lack confidence in themselves. That they have to have something to not think about, I'm this piece of shit, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm not worthy of whatever. We are all worthy of something in life. Maybe I'm not going to be a doctor or a dentist or, something that, but I'm here to help someone.
And your children, right? I mean, the fact that you have those, just heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching stories. Mm-hmm. Thank God for their resilience. Yeah. From what I gather, your relationship with them now is great. It sounds like it's always great, but that was just a traumatic moment.
Like I just asked my kids last week, like, do you miss dad ever being drunk? Hell no. They'll say hell no. My daughter cusses every once in a while. It's like, fuck no. Like, like I can't imagine being that guy anymore, And I actually wanted to do like a video with them, like doing like questions like, hey, what do you think about dad at this point? What do you think about dad when he was doing this or that? And like, just get their real answers, because they're at an age where they're going to remember everything. Right. Is that going to affect them when they're 20, 21 years old, or in high school or in college and drinking? And are they ever going to drink? Or are they going to be, alcoholics? Or, I can only be a good example, lead by example now, and the kids, and making sure that they live a healthy and prosperous life to not go down the road. Like, because I never wanted to be that, to my kids, like my dad was to me. But are they, now that I'm a good example and I'm not that person, how's that going to affect them?
It's amazing, man. It's interesting to think. You would think that seeing a parent struggle and not beat it would be enough to stop the next generation. Mm-hmm. But typically, like father, like son, like parent, like child. So you hear this often where you hear a person say, my parents were this, and history repeats itself, right? It becomes generational. I think there's a component, we live what we learn, we model what we see. And if you beat it like you have, mm-hmm. right, and you stay this path like you are, your children have clear contrasts of dad like this, dad A and dad B, Ryan A and Ryan B. They're going to choose Ryan this B. guy, like you just said, this person, not just preference, but they're going to choose, God willing, obviously, right? To walk that out, because they have now an example that says, he did change, but you never saw your father change. Mm-mm. Right. So you had
supposedly he doesn't drink now. I don't know, like, but he smokes weed. Like, he'll hide that shit, and he knows I hate that. So it's like, again, one addiction to another. Like, maybe make it a healthy addiction, like me with CrossFit, right? Right. But yeah.
Well, I'm super impressed, man. I mean, I know when we first met a year ago, you had mentioned your journey, and then I've watched you do it, right? Because it's mm-hmm. one thing to see you come into the gym, being nice to meet you, will I see this guy again? Because people come and go, how it is, and anything. And CrossFit is not easy, right?
No,
it is
not,
a grueling sport for that matter. It's not sexy. I have this thing that I share, and it's I think the one thing that makes it different than anything else is the fact that there's no mirrors.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Why is that though?
Takes all the vanity out, man. I bet you $100 if there were mirrors in there, you and I would not have our shirts off.
It makes you shorter,
right,
it makes you
like,
wider.
I don't want to see this because you'll think you're killing it.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm sure they're intentional about this, because every CrossFit gym I've been to, at least a bona fide one, does not. Yeah. I mean, there's an industrial like warehouse, chainsaw massacre vibe to all of the boxes, to all the venues or the locations. Venues is too bougie of a word for CrossFit.
You're right.
Which CrossFit venue?
The warehouse.
Yeah, the freaking warehouse. But any other gym on the planet is all mirrors.
Yeah.
Right? And
every gym I've ever been to, yeah.
And I kind of like it. I like seeing the ability to course correct, but I like that, but I love the real raw. And go do a competition where they take photos and whatnot, and you'll be like, oh my God, look at my face or look at my gut.
Right.
Because you're in these positions where, you're not going to look good doing a GHD.
Yeah.
Like it's not hot, or a bar muscle up.
Right. Your belly's flapping all over them.
But the difference is like, we're actually strong.
Like
we can do things.
Right.
Even if we don't look like, hot boy summer.
Right.
That's how I like it. I like that I'm like
strong.
Want to go?
Yeah.
Like, cause I can run 10 miles right now.
Right.
And I can lift this and move that and jump and, do all the things. But yeah, isn't that interesting? The mirror thing.
It is interesting. Yeah. Well, and I look at back at, even a year ago when I moved here, and I wouldn't be able to do the things I do now, from, if you drink and like, right. You think about those people that are drinking every day, or like they're not in the gym like we are, and I think it being very healthy is very sexy. Yeah. And not healthy like I have to have, right. Compare not like be on the GQ. Yeah. Right. Now everyone eats 4 freaking grams of carbs a day. Like,
I'm like, hey, Lee, can I wash my shirt on your stomach, dude?
Yeah.
Like, why do you look like that, bro?
Crazy.
Like, by the way, he's like, in his like late 40s.
Late 40s,
yeah,
right?
I'm like, dude.
Right.
Like, it's pretty impressive. But
yeah,
man, I think that you're like, you did the hardest thing, right? Which is to get on this track, on this path, and success begets success, failure beget failure. You got to keep going, right? And keep yourself going, around people.
There's no going back. I can't. I think I've probably said this already, but I can't imagine going back to the person I was and drinking every day and being hungover and just having this negative mindset. Even though, like, we all have our struggles every day, right? But am I to where I want to be that I thought I would be when I'm 40 years old? No, but at the end of the day, I'm doing a lot better than most people, and
at the beginning of the day, because you start your day right.
Right. You start your day. And that's one thing that they say in AA, just, one day, take one day at a time, get your head on that pillow sober one day.
Man, this has been an awesome conversation.
No, I love it.
I'm so thankful that you have been.
Your drink's great too.
Dude, that stuff's awesome,
bro.
Right?
It's so good.
Dude, the happy juice.
I'm like,
I
call it happy juice, right?
It's called happy juice.
I'm dialed in. I'm like talking, like, oh, this is great.
My sister put me on.
You have to send me the stuff.
Yeah, it's like good. I knew you'd like it. I was like, you'll give me a little buzz. Yeah. It's not the Sierra Nevada.
That hazy.
It'll give you a nice little,
little get up.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate
one more
it.
kind of question or thought as we land the plane. For people listening that are struggling, maybe they're not 18 months out from it. They might be in the throes of it, or they might be before the dip. They might be going, I'm playing with fire, and I don't want to get burnt. What is a thought? Because here's the thing. Like, I'm not one of these. And here's 3 steps to a wonderful life. Like, I'm just not like that. I'm like,
this is real.
I'm like, this is my shit. And I'm like doing everything I can every day to deal with my shit, to steward it, to have capacity for it. So I don't mean this in like 3 steps to, sobriety, but you've shared some really intense, really vulnerable moments here today. And I want to, again, thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel privileged and,
I think I probably have shared the most vulnerable. Wow. Cut that out. The most vulnerable things that have ever happened to me in my life, too.
Today.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
From the gun to my head to...
That's humbling, too, because the purpose of this podcast, as I say in the intros, get to the core of people, good, bad, ugly.
What was that question?
Just for somebody listening that maybe is where you were 18 months ago, 2 years ago. There's that season, like I said, there's the day of disgust, there's the day of decision, but then there's all these other days until you really make the decision.
Right.
I've heard it this way, that the word decide is a lot like the word homicide or suicide or pesticide. It means to kill.
Right.
So when you decide, you've killed the alternative.
Interesting.
Isn't that awesome?
I never heard about that. Yeah,
man. So you make a decision and you decide. So when I make decisions, I try to be as decisive as possible. But it kind of goes back to what I was sharing with you with the flag there that means no. It's like, what are the things that you've said no to, that you've killed? So I just wonder if there's people listening that maybe they're on the part where it's about to go sideways, or it has gone sideways, and they're trying to get to where they're for real about it. Whatever that is, it doesn't have to be as intense as alcoholism. It can be, I'm going to start that business for real and stop screwing around with it. I'm going to, fix that relationship. Or the opposite, I'm going to get out of that relationship. I'm going to move to that town. Make a damn decision and then make it right, because most people live their lives wanting to make the right decision.
Right.
But you can't make the right decision. You have to make a decision and then make it right. So I just was curious for people that might be somewhere in there, and we've all been there in different ways. I have my kind of journey along those same lines of just disgusting, it's not the right word, but like just some low moments, some low lights in my life. I'm like, what am I doing, dude? So I just was curious if you have any advice or insight on how to like make it through those dark times.
I think for anyone listening, just decide on the person that you want to be, that's going to bring good to the world, and not necessarily the world, but just the people around you, and your world, right? Like, and go after that. And not necessarily it has to be a goal, or not to drink, or no to drugs, or whatever it is. Go after that goodness, because you do deserve it. Whether it's like you're going through a divorce, or you deserve to be happy. People deserve to be happy. And then making sure that you live those days, your happy days, all the time, and not give up on that. Because again, like I said, everyone deserves to be happy. And so as long as it's like a healthy choice, right? And don't like, obviously you can be happy and you drink, like, right?
It's artificial happiness.
But purity, like do something, go travel. Like if you want, like, you're like, oh, I can't travel after work. Go do that thing that's going to make you happy. Because if work's not making you happy, and you're not happy in that moment, and you need a vacation, go take your vacation. Yeah. Right. So
it's good, man. I like that. Go for goodness. I had a guest on, his name's Zach Melton, super sharp guy, very grounded theologically in his faith. And he shared something with me recently, and it makes me think of what you were just sharing. In the story of creation, God created everything in 6 days, right? And after each like category of creations, he said, it is good. And he kind of rocked my world a little bit, where he's like, everything God made was good, and he wants goodness for us, happiness.
Go for goodness. Yeah.
Go for goodness. So I like how you said that, like, find the goodness and go for it. Because if not, it's a painful, dark place that, thank God, at your age, I guess it would have been 38 at the time.
Yeah.
You were able to get on the right track, because some people take that out to 48 and 58, and then it's like,
it's forever.
It's gone, dude. You know what I mean? Like you missed
Your life's
it.
done.
Life's done. You know, it's not over. It's not hopeless, but there are people, I think, particularly millennials, that are right on this precipice.
That's true.
And they need to be encouraged to say, hey, dude, you're only a third of the way through this thing. We still got 2 more, periods in this hockey game, or, in this wrestling match. So that's really encouraging, man. I thank you for being on today. This has been awesome. Thank you for
great conversation. I love it. This is my jam. Just being able to share kind of, and like I told you, if it can save one person,
right,
then I've done my job.
Well, it's encouraged the hell out of me, man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.